Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of RC Retirement. I have, for this episode, a rather impromptu topic. I was looking through the internet and came upon a rather interesting topic. I just started reading about how the blended retirement system is affecting military divorces. So I thought I would talk about that. It is quite a complex sort of topic, so I'm not even going to try to write an article about it, especially since every state has its own set of rules regarding divorces, and I am not a lawyer, so I'm not even going to try there. So before we get into that, let me to today's Amazon item of the day. Actually, no, I'll just put that at the end, and we'll just go straight into the topic. So, the interesting thing with the blended retirement system, or BRS, first of all, for the eligible population, there was a surprisingly low conversion rate. I saw that the overall percentage of conversion was between 16 to 18% service-wide, which was rather surprising. Of course, everyone who came into service from 2018 forward is automatically under the new retirement plan, but the people who had 12 years of service or less had the option to switch, and not very many people did so. The Marine Corps was the service with the highest rate of conversion, and the Army was the service with the lowest. But that's not related to the topic. That's just some interesting trivia. So the topic is, how does the blended retirement system affect military divorce? Well, when it comes to dividing monetary benefits, it makes things considerably more complex, because now we have more benefits to divide. How so? Well, let's look at what's out there. You've got a mid-career bonus in the form of the 12-year bonus that a service member would receive. And that's, of course, there's no way to know for sure how much that would be. There are ways to get a rough calculation. For example, I'm pulling up my calculator right now, but it is just a wild guess as far as what the money would be. There is no set in stone method for determining what that amount of money would be. Next, you've got the thrift savings plan, which is mandatory now. And then you have the pension, which still exists. A lot of people thought the pension was going away, but no, the pension still exists. And so with the pension still being there, you have at least 3 components that can be subject to division. And all of that causes for a sticky wicket when you're trying to figure out how things should work in a divorce. And again, I'm not going to try to, go into a lot of detail, regarding how states will do this, just that it gets really weird. In fact, let's talk about the thrift savings plan for a moment. That could get even more complex because you've got two versions of the thrift savings plan. You've got the traditional plan, which is tax deferred, and you've got a Roth plan, which is tax exempt. And if you're participating in the Roth thrift savings plan, the matching funds you're receiving from the branch of service are not going into the Roth. They are going into the traditional, the tax deferred version of the TSP. So right there, you've got two investment funds or investment portfolios. And if you're going through a divorce with division of assets, two sets of assets being divided. So more fun right there. And of course, something that your lawyers can haggle over is the tax consequences of dividing them right now versus the consequences of dividing them at a later date and cashing them out at a later date versus now. All kinds of fun things, and you should probably get the advice of a retirement services officer and of a financial counselor before any of that happens. Get some professional guidance before any of that occurs, because as I have discovered, one person doesn't know everything, and a little help from outside sources definitely is beneficial. So, moving on here. The laws regarding division of assets for military divorces are a bit vague. When it comes to division of military retirement, there is only one, in fact, I'm pulling that up, only one federal law that really applies. It came into being just recently, and my calculator takes that into account. It used to be that states could divvy up military retirement however they wanted, and that is essentially still the case. The federal law that was recently passed added a small proviso to that, which essentially stated that that at the time of divorce there would be a cutoff, and if the service member were to have additional retirement points or promotions in grade, those would not count in the division. Essentially, the division of assets or the value of assets stops. And now, one thing to consider is every state does things differently, and what I'm saying may or may not apply in a particular state. So, listening to me, be sure to take the advice of a lawyer in your state. I am not an attorney, so be sure to seek the advice of an attorney in your state. If you seek me out for advice regarding the division of assets, I'm going to go off of the federal rules and not based off of any unique state rules. So that would just be a guide and not necessarily the specifics that would be applicable in your situation. Well, anyway, that's digressing again. Let's get back to BRS and what's going on there. So BRS is definitely making things more complex because there are more factors to consider. The changes in the formulas for military retirement, changing the pension rate from 50% at 20 years to 40% at 20 years is going to require re-education for a lot of people, especially since we now have two groups of service members serving at the same time. We have people serving under the legacy retirement plan, the 50% plan, and we have people serving under the blended retirement plan. So it's just like with the technician program. We have people serving under the civil service retirement system and the federal employee retirement system. We've got two groups of people serving at the same time under radically different benefit plans. And when we have people going through divorces, we're going to have to make sure that the lawyers and the judges are properly educated so that both the service member and the divorcing spouse on the other side of the party are both being treated fairly and no one is getting messed over in the course of the divorce. That is going to be exceedingly difficult, especially since the blended retirement system is very new and people are still trying to figure this out. So that's partially why I'm recording this video, just as a warning that this is going to become a complex issue as time goes on. And another part of that could make it even more complex is the lump sum payouts that are options when retirees hit their minimum retirement age. With active duty or reserve retirees, they have the option for a 25% or 50% lump sum payout that causes a reduction in the monthly annuity they receive, and then at 67 their annuity is recomputed back to the normal annuity they would have received. So if that occurs, if the annuity is chosen, that is another factor to be taken into account when a spouse is seeking division of assets in the case or in the course of a divorce. What if the service member chooses a lump sum? That is going to have a radical effect on the money available for division of assets. So again, you're going to have to consider these factors, and you may have to have a judge or a lawyer seek limitations on accepting lump sum payouts when it comes time to apply for retirement benefits. Who knows? That's just one of those many, many things out there that will have to be considered. Another thing to consider is how to deal with consolidating or cashing out the thrift savings plan when that time rolls around. What do you do when you hit 59 and a half or 65, 67, what do you do with the thrift savings plan? How do you treat the funds in those accounts? There are so many more questions now than there used to be, because the thrift savings plan the blended retirement system has created so many more assets, so many more factors to be considered when it comes to a service member's retirement benefits. It's not just your pension and TRICARE anymore. It's pension, TRICARE, thrift savings plan, lump sum payouts. What did you do with your I forgot what it's called now. It's not career status bonus anymore. That went away. Anyway, your career incentive when you were at the 12-year mark. Did you invest that in the thrift savings plan and make good money on it, or did you waste it on toys? All kinds of questions to be asked, and if you're getting divorced, then all kinds of pain to endure. So obviously, a lot more needs to be thought, or a lot more thought needs to be put into this, and it's not my lane particularly to delve into that particular arena, so I'll let people more qualified than myself do it. But I thought I would just throw the idea out there and let some people mull it over. It's certainly something that should be considered, and some people are probably going through it right now. Maybe it's something that could be good for discussion. If people want to come onto the YouTube channel and start a conversation in the comments, that would be very useful. People could learn from that. If people are listening on the shortwave radio program and want to come over to YouTube, or listening on the podcast and want to come over to YouTube and start commenting, you're welcome as well. Let's start a conversation. And I even know some lawyer people who would love to hear your comments as well, because this is going to become an issue as time goes on. So let's start the conversation now and hammer out some of the key points so that we can learn from it and maybe figure out what some of those major items are and prepare. Have some of those major items identified, have some of those preparatory sets of law in place, know what the alternative actions are, know what some of the questions should be, know what some of the fallacies in the law are, perhaps what some of the adjustments in law maybe should be, and start lobbying for that. Who knows? There are all kinds of things that perhaps should be done, and we just don't know what they are yet. So we have to start the conversation now and figure out what that is. So let's get started now. I am not married myself, so I'm not going to be seeking a divorce anytime soon. But there are people out there who are married, and hopefully you won't be seeking a divorce. But if you are in the middle of such a thing, then come on over and start talking about it. Help others learn from your scenario. And if you've gone through such an event yourself, help others learn from your life and maybe not go through as much pain as you may have gone through. All right, I believe that's probably enough of my rambling for one topic anyway. I think I'm going to call it quits for this episode. If you would like to support my efforts on this and other topics, I invite you to come over to patreon.com/RCretirement and support me on a monthly basis at whatever level you may choose. And you're also welcome to come over to Amazon.com. You can go to rcretirement.com and click the Shop on Amazon link. I'm not going to worry about posting an Amazon item today. We'll just worry about getting people to pay attention to this episode. All right. As always, I appreciate you spending time with me, being a part of this audience, and I hope you will join me once more for my upcoming episodes. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, to know that you spend your valuable time with me and that you find the information I put out there of interest and of value. So, as always, thank you, and thank you.
If you liked what you heard on today's episode, then please go below and give it a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe to this channel. Also, please let other people know about this channel and the information it can provide for them. If you have questions or comments, then please have no qualms about posting them in the comments section below. Please remember the RC Retirement YouTube channel and the RC Retirement website are not recognized or endorsed by the Department of Defense, the Department of Veterans Affairs, or any other government agency. The information presented in these resources are for entertainment and informational purposes only. Also, the content of either of these resources should not be considered financial or legal advice. Please consult with your own legal counsel, accountant, or financial planner before making any decisions based on what you have learned here. As always, thank you for watching the RC Retirement YouTube channel.